place filled with choices, uncertainties, and emotions that are never spoken out loud. Silent depression does not scream. It whispers. It hides behind productivity, behind smiles, behind the words, "I'm fine." Many people live their entire lives carrying an invisible weight that no one ever notices. They function. They work. They laugh. But inside, something feels empty, disconnected, and deeply tired. In this journey, we explore one of the most misunderstood and overlooked psychological states. The psychology of silent depression. Through the philosophy of Carl Jung. And what you will discover here has the power to completely change how you understand suffering, strength, and the hidden battles within the human soul. What awaits in the final insight is not comfort, but clarity. A perspective capable of transforming how you see yourself, and those who suffer quietly around you. Carl Jung believed that the most dangerous form of suffering is the suffering that remains unconscious. Silent depression is not always sadness. Often, it is numbness. A gradual loss of meaning. A fading connection to the self. Jung observed that many people do not become depressed because life is difficult, but because they have lost contact with who they truly are. They live according to expectations, roles, and personas, while their inner world is ignored. The persona, the mask you show the world, may appear strong, capable, and composed. But beneath it, the shadow grows heavier. Silent depression often emerges when the persona becomes stronger than the self. When a person survives, but no longer feels alive. Jung warned that when inner truth is suppressed, it does not disappear. It turns inward. Manifesting as fatigue, emptiness, chronic dissatisfaction, or a quiet despair that has no obvious cause. This is why silent depression is so difficult to recognize, even by the person experiencing it. There may be no tears. No dramatic breakdown. No visible collapse. Just a constant sense of being disconnected from joy, from purpose, from oneself. Jung believed that depression is not merely an illness, but often a signal. A message from the psyche that something essential has been ignored. He wrote that the soul withdraws when it is not listened to. And silent depression is the soul speaking in the only way it can. Through emptiness. Through loss of motivation. Through a quiet inner withdrawal from life. Many people respond to this by distracting themselves. Work. Entertainment. Achievement. Constant movement. But Jung warned that distraction only delays the confrontation. The unconscious waits patiently. And the longer it is ignored, the louder it speaks. Silent depression often appears when a person has learned to be strong for everyone else, but never learned how to be honest with themselves. They suppress sadness because they believe it is weakness. They suppress anger because it feels unacceptable. They suppress longing because it feels unrealistic. And over time, their emotional world becomes silent. Not peaceful, but numb. Jung believed that numbness is more dangerous than pain. Because pain still carries meaning. Numbness signals a loss of dialogue between the ego and the self. The ego says, keep going. Be productive. Be useful. The self whispers, this is not who you are. And silent depression emerges in that conflict. Jung called this state a loss of individuation. Individuation is the process of becoming who you truly are, not who you are expected to be. When this process is blocked, the psyche suffers. Not loudly, but deeply. Silent depression often hides in people who appear successful, disciplined, and responsible. Because they have learned to sacrifice their inner life for external stability. Jung observed that many people collapse inward only after they have achieved everything they were told would make them happy. Because meaning cannot be borrowed. It must be discovered. And when meaning is absent, even comfort becomes unbearable. Silent depression is often the result of a neglected shadow. The shadow contains repressed emotions, unlived desires, and unexpressed grief. But it also contains unused creativity, authentic impulses, and inner truth. Jung believed that when the shadow is ignored, it does not disappear. It turns into symptoms: fatigue, emptiness, irritability, apathy. The shadow does not want to harm you. It wants to be acknowledged. Silent depression is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign that your inner world has been asking for attention for a very long time. Before we continue, if reflections like this resonate with you, if you value psychology, philosophy, and deep explorations of the human mind, take a moment to subscribe to this channel. Your support helps bring this content to others who may be struggling silently and searching for understanding. Jung believed that depression often marks the beginning of transformation, not the end. He viewed it as a descent into the unconscious, a necessary withdrawal so that something deeper can be reorganized. But this descent becomes dangerous when it is denied. When a person refuses to listen, to feel, to reflect. Jung famously said that what you resist not only persists, but grows stronger. Silent depression grows when emotions are avoided. When sadness is rationalized. When pain is minimized. When emptiness is normalized. But when a person turns inward with honesty, something begins to shift. Meaning does not arrive suddenly. But awareness does. And awareness is the beginning of healing. Jung believed that healing does not come from positivity, but from integration. From allowing sadness, anger, fear, and vulnerability to exist without judgment. Silent depression begins to loosen when the inner voice is finally heard. When the person stops asking, "What is wrong with me?" and begins asking, "What within me has been ignored?" This is why Jung emphasized the importance of dreams. Dreams reveal what the conscious mind refuses to face. Many people experiencing silent depression report recurring dreams of being lost, trapped, or moving without direction. Jung would say these are symbolic messages. Not signs of failure, but invitations. Silent depression is not asking you to escape. It is asking you to return. To yourself. To the parts of you that were sacrificed to survive. Jung believed that the goal of life is not happiness, but wholeness. And wholeness requires facing what hurts. Silent depression begins to transform when a person dares to sit with their discomfort, without distraction. To listen, instead of suppress. To feel, instead of perform. This process is not easy. It requires courage. Because the first thing you encounter when you turn inward is not peace. It is truth. But Jung believed that truth, even when painful, is liberating. Because it reconnects you to meaning. Silent depression loses its grip when meaning begins to re-emerge. Not through achievement, but through authenticity. Not through approval, but through alignment. Ask yourself now. Where in your life have you been pretending to be okay? What emotions have you learned to hide even from yourself? What part of you has been asking for attention through exhaustion, emptiness, or quiet despair? Silent depression is not the enemy. It is the signal. And according to Jung, signals are meant to be understood, not silenced. When you begin to listen, something changes. The silence becomes meaningful. And within it, a deeper self begins to emerge. This is not the end of the journey. It is the beginning. Of returning to who you truly are.